What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the opinionated hippie, continuing my deep dive into all things Neil Young. Today, I'd like to discuss his live release, Neil Young and the International Harvesters, Austin City Limits, 1984. This is, I believe, an FM radio broadcast of the Austin City Limits performance here in Austin, Texas. Came out in 2019. The performance was way back in 1984. On this tour with the International Harvesters, and the name of the band who's accompanying him, I can spell it, it's really hard to say it, should give you a clue as to maybe what you're going to get with this, International Harvesters. He put out Reactor, Crazy Horse Rock album, put out Trans, a synth album, puts out Everybody's Rockin', a 50s/rockabilly album. So you go to see him after those three albums and you're thinking, who knows what I'm going to get? You get country music. Probably not anybody was expecting back in 1984 when they blindly bought a Neil Young ticket, had they not known what he was already doing on tour. The first song pretty much prepares you for the night, and pretty much your answer to this question is the answer on whether or not you're going to like this performance. The first song that he opens with, Are You Ready for the Country? Are you ready for the country? We're not talking the country like going out to the country. We're talking about, are you ready for the music on this album, which is all country? A lot of his regular country players are here. It's a full country band. Fiddle. There's a lot of fiddle. That's the one thing that kind of gets me the most, that puts me on the fence of like, okay, maybe this is too much country. Pedal steel, which I'm okay with. Pedal steel is really good. A lot of banjo, but again, Neil Young does banjo. And probably the most egregious thing on here, or the thing that works the least, is at times Neil Young's voice just doesn't work. He just, when he's trying to be pure country, when he's trying to be Nashville country, I don't think his voice works. Comes a Time is the third song on here. He had released Comes a Time years earlier. It is dressed up in country garb, but at its core, Comes a Time is like a late 70s soft rock song. The melody is soft rock. Neil Young sings it like it's soft rock. It's Neil's version of soft rock, which nobody does Neil's version of soft rock. Soft rock as great as Neil does, obviously. When he's doing that, the country works because it's not all country. But when he's singing Are You Ready for the Country? Or Let Your Fingers Do the Talking, and he's playing with phone metaphors, or even something like, in this instance, Field of Opportunity, which worked for me before, but here when we're seeping in the country, doesn't work as much. Why was it country? Before I get onto the songs, apparently Neil at this point was fed up with rock and roll. The business side had done him no good. He was sick of it. He was turning to Nashville. He was turning to country. He was embracing country. And so we get this. Some new country songs, some old country songs, some songs that aren't country songs, giving a little bit of country flavor. We get all sides of Neil. Neil's still doing all things Neil. Some definite highlights, but whether or not you like this album is going to have to do with how much fiddle you can handle and how much country you can handle. That's it, pretty much. Because a lot of the deep cuts, we're starting to get our like, oh, these are the hits that he's going to play always going forward. We're starting to get that side of him to show up a little bit. Opens up with Are You Ready for the Country? Full country, lots of fiddle. We get Hawks and Doves, which is a little unsettling considering the lyrics and that we haven't moved past whatever reactionary impetus, whatever prompted him to write those lyrics, whether it was playing a character, whether he was moving to the right, whether he was reacting to stuff, who knows? It's weird to hear Hawks and Doves played live. It's a weird song. Full on banjo, full on fiddle country. But yeah, we get a full country version of Hawks and Doves. And those lyrics still aren't any better years later, 4 years after the album. Neil's very talkative to this. We got a lot of good introductions, a lot of him explaining things. We get a Comes a Time. Absolutely works. A lot of this other stuff feels like he's wearing a musical costume. This one doesn't. This feels like a Neil Young song. It just happens to have a little country flavor in it. Comes a Time. Yeah, I'm in on that. Then we get another new song, Bound for Glory, which really, really works. He would release it on Old Ways the following year. Has almost a Chris Christopherson vibe to it. Willie Nelson, Waylon Jennings. It would be a Waylon Jennings duet on Old Ways on the album that follows. But it has that kind of 70s country storytelling vibe. And I think Neil's voice, it's almost like he's leaning towards a Chris Christopherson energy, so it works a little bit better. But yeah, I'm okay with this. Comes a Time, Bound for Glory. I'm enjoying this a little bit more at this point. Then we get Let Your Fingers Do the Walking, Do the Talking. It's a bunch of phone metaphors. There's a line like, when you gave good phone, which I don't need. First released on a Treasure. I don't think there's a studio version floating out there, unless it's on Archives 3 and I just haven't got to that disc yet. Really cheesy, full-on country, embracing that horrible wordplay that sometimes ruins country songs or sometimes ruins any song. But the line, when you gave good phone, nah, man. Nah, Neil, you're better than that. Then we get A Heart of Gold. He says it's well-aged like... Oh, no, we get... Before Heart of Gold, we get Are There Any More Real Cowboys, which is a duet with Willie, and Willie kind of saves the song on Old Ways. It's acoustic, it's clean, it's got a nice harmonica solo. Not as fiddly and country, but I do think it works better with Willie singing these words than Neil. Then we get A Heart of Gold, which Neil introduces as saying that it's well-aged like Kansas City beef. I think that's what he says. It's got a really nice bounce to it. Pedal steel works, the harmonica playing his work. This is one of those songs where if it comes on the radio, I don't listen to the radio anymore, but when it used to come on the radio, I would turn it. I don't need to hear Heart of Gold again. But in a situation like this, where it's preceded by a bunch of country songs, and this is Heart of Gold with a slight country flavor, I'm like, this is a pretty fantastic little song. Amber Jean, which first got released on a Treasure, which is about his daughter. Amber Jean comes next. Sounds like a Neil country song. I think this could have fit on Comes a Time. Could have helped Hawks or Doves. It's got those Neil melodies. This is how Neil does country. I like Amber Jean. I think it's better than Let Your Fingers Do the Talking or Are There Any More Real Cowboys. He introduces the band. We get a roll another number for the road. He does an International Harvester's name drop in there. Changes one of the lyrics. Morning sun yet to climb the wall. Not climbing his hood ornament. It's climbing a wall somewhere. And he name drops the International Harvesters in here. A couple short solos from the band in the middle of this. I wish he'd leaned into the talking on this and did a more like Stones Faraway Eyes, like never going back to that helicopter day type thing. That is a country thing I wish he had leaned into a little more. He doesn't. Then we get what is the highlight, or one of the highlights on this for me easily, Southern Pacific. Nice 8.5-minute version of Southern Pacific. Gets a locomotive energy, just kind of steamrolls. Absolutely fantastic. Sounds like a country train rolling. Some banjo, the fiddle. Fiddle kind of sounds like a train whistle. It's chugging. Neil builds an intensity. And then at the very end, it almost just like slams on its brakes. And you can hear like the steel on the steel as the song just like grinds to a stop. Yeah. Train metaphor, nailed. Musically, lyrically, perfect performance. Love that song. We get a Neil and the Damage Done next. Beautiful solo performance of that, as heartbreaking as ever. We get a Helpless. About the first 2.5 minutes of this, I think it's just Neil and maybe his guitar. I think there's one other guitar that's maybe adding a little something, but it's pretty sparse. And then about 2.5 minutes in there, we get a full band drop with a little bit of country flavor that works beautifully. Absolutely fantastic. All in on that. Good choice on that. Song called California Sunset follows. This version of California Sunset, live from ACL, is the same performance that would make it onto Old Ways. About the song itself, I'll talk about more when I get to Old Ways, Friday, a couple days from posting this video. I grew up in California. I'm a big fan of California Sunsets. This song does not remind me of California, does not remind me of a California sunset. Lyrically, musically, the vibe. You didn't succeed on this one. If you're a Californian or a West Coaster and you do think this does, let me know. I think you missed the boat on this one. I think he missed the boat on this one. We have a cover of a song called It Might Have Been, an older song, which he claims is written by a woman in the 1800s. I know there's a recorded version from the 1950s. Love the lyrics. About the saddest 4 words are, it might have been. Really good choice of covers. Really good song. Kind of crushing lyrics. I really, really like this song. I like this choice. It's absolutely awesome. It is a great song. We get Field of Opportunity. No, we get Soul of a Woman next, which is kind of a typical country blues. We get the start and stop chorus, kind of a template that many people have done before. The opening line is a man needs a woman and blah, blah, blah. There's nothing, I think this is just kind of a type song. Nothing really special about it. Just kind of doing what so many other people have done before. And the lyric isn't interesting. I think the performance is almost like a paint by numbers type thing. Live, kind of fun, but Field of Opportunity, more full country, hokey with the metaphors. Having that telephone song come earlier in the set list and then having this follow with this metaphors about fielding and farming and planting. You only need one heavily country metaphor song in a set, I think, without pointing out the flaws of both. This is the stronger of the two. We get an old man. Oh man, take a look. We know old man. Then we get a pretty straightforward Powderfinger, but with just enough little country flavor and enough little emphasis on certain chords to give it a slightly different feel. But it really works. Good choice of songs. Obviously, he wrote this and offered it to Leonard Skinner, so it's almost got this southern rock country roots in it. But we're leaning a little more to the country, a little less away by from the southern rock, and I like it. I think it's good. I think it works. Then we get back to the country, which would drop on Old Ways in the following year. And then at the very end, he gives the people what they want, and he gives them a really nice, juicy, long, healthy Down by the River. Yeah, we get a Down by the River. Get a little guitar theatrics in there. Gets to stretch out a little bit. Yeah, so we get that. Down by the River. And that's it. That's what we get in this very country, very, very country performance. I'm looking up something because I have a version of Down by the River. Yeah, apparently there's a bootleg out there in which this is cut in half. I have the version that is the long version. But yeah, I think Down by the River, this is one of those songs I'd like to hear every single version of this. This is probably, other than the Southern Pacific, only because Southern Pacific is rooted in this era. I think it's a highlight because it takes the stuff he's been doing in the 80s, gives a little country flavor and elevates it. Down by the River is just a stone cold classic that he's just dropping in there to make people happy at the end and send them home like, yeah, he did Down by the River. I'm happy he did Down by the River, but we get a Down by the River to close. But yeah, the question to ask yourself, are you ready for the country? If you are, and you like the fiddle, there are some things that are interesting on here. The country stuff, if you like it, I think Bound for Glory is pretty interesting as far as the new songs. Amber Jean, Southern Pacific. Really, those are the new songs that I think are the really good ones. But it is nice to hear some of these other songs in a different environment, in a different setting. Not my favorite live album. I'm not ranking the live albums now, but when I get done through all this, I'm going to go back and drop a single video with all the live albums ranked, just because, why not? But yeah, for now, yeah, are you ready for the country? Check it out if you are. He has one other album from this tour that I'm going to drop in a couple days. I'm going to do Old Ways, and then I'll pick up on a Treasure probably early over the weekend or early next week. Another live album from this tour that has a couple different songs on there. So check this out, and if you like that, you'll probably like that one more. But anyways, that's it. I'm rambling. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, share, comment. Let me know your thoughts on this album if you've checked it out. And if you like the country side of him, check it out. Why not? All right. I'm done. Peace. Talk to you later.